And
I
then
love your
Aaron, I'm gonna
community.
make you the host.
I saw this. I'm like, this is one of my favorite communities. Like, when I get to go to your stuff is the best.
I appreciate that.
It is.
The Meltzer has a special place in my heart because you've really seen Propelify grow and the transition to my own career, and always been very generous with your time and advice.
Vice versa, vice versa.
I'm not sure how much of my advice is helpful, but it's always been great
Uh,
to get together.
we've grown together. We've grown together, though.
That is definitely true. That is definitely true. People are rolling in. Hey, this is Aaron Price. I'm the CEO of the New Jersey Tech Council. I've got with me Dave Meltzer, the CEO of Sports One Marketing. David, where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining you from Orange County, California, my closet. I have my 3 daughters, my niece, my son, my dog, and my wife all in this house. So I have the best closet in the world. It's an office, a studio, a guest room, and of course a closet.
That's awesome. So let me set the stage for people to understand kind of what the next 30 minutes or so is going to look like. First of all, if you're not familiar with the New Jersey Tech Council, if you're joining us especially through the Propelify community, the council is built to empower the entrepreneurs and innovators of the region. It's a tremendous complement to the Propelify Festival and a variety of other programs and member services. So if you're not yet a member, get involved. Go to njtc.org and check us out. We run programming like this very frequently in general, and especially now. We've got something coming up next week with Andrew Yang and Ralph Izzo, the CEO of PSE&G. We're doing something with Tim Draper the week after. So we got a lot of great things planned, but super excited to have David Meltzer join us today. Dave, there's a lot of, you've been through some uncertain times in your life. In particular, you once went bankrupt, and the country is kind of dealing with a potential bankruptcy, or I think each individual is dealing with some mental bankruptcy, maybe real financial issues that are scaring them towards that path. And so I want to start there with how you got to this place of wealth, and then what brought you down and what you've learned in the process. And I want to dive in on some of the metaphors of what's going on in society today.
Yeah, sure. I was blessed to grow up broke. So that's a baseline for me. I always say I feel sorry for those people that grew up with money because I could never teach them what I learned. Most importantly, though, I had the wrong values. I was a multimillionaire in my 30s. I was a millionaire 9 months out of law school in my early 20s. And so money had the wrong meaning to me. And I had
by the way, that's a little unusual. How'd that happen?
Yeah, so for me, I grew up with a single mom, 6 kids, and the only time I wasn't happy, I was born with the happiness gene. So I started learning very early that I had a quantum nature for 2 things, happiness and making money. And I was going to use both of those to make sure that my mom was happy, because I would catch her crying because the car broke down, or she was worried about how she would feed us, or all the different things. And my mom was such an amazing person that I focused in on at 5 years old. I was going to be rich to buy my mom a house and a car, because if I could make my mom happy, then everything in my life would be happy. And money meant...
Such a good Jewish son.
Yeah. I was driven. Speaking of which, best parenting advice, just off topic, but I have to tell it. Wake your kids up at 5 a.m. And my mom was a 3rd-degree black belt in Jewish guilt. So whatever guilt you can provide your kids, it's a great motivator. My siblings all went to the Ivy League, summa cum laude. There's something true. Wake them up early and guilt them there.
It's in our blood. I don't think we have a choice. Yeah, I went to that same school. But sorry, I totally.
Yeah, money to me was going to buy me happiness and love. And I was driven by, whether I was going to be a professional athlete, and then I got run over in college and realized that wasn't going to happen. I was going to be a doctor, realized doctors had to be in hospitals, and I hate hospitals, so that wasn't going to happen. Then my mom was saying, doctor, lawyer, or failure. So then I went to be a lawyer, and I reverse engineered the law school I went to see how I could make the most money. I went to the law school that had the best program for oil and gas litigators, because that was the highest paying lawyer. I didn't give a crap about what I was going to do. I would have shoveled poo with my hands 12 hours a day, 6 days a week to make money, because it was going to buy happiness and love. Yeah. And everything I did, we sold my first company I worked for, $3.4 billion in 1995. Every choice I chose to sell internet, legal research online in 92, when my mom told me the internet was going to be a fad, learning that people just because they love you doesn't give you good advice. So find a good mentor situation, people that sit in the situation you want. But my whole career, I became the CEO of Samsung's first convergence device, the first smartphone on earth, the Windows C device. So by 32, I had everything I ever dreamed of, and I was completely filled, but I wasn't fulfilled, and I certainly wasn't happy.
Yeah.
Everything in my life was driven, money buys happiness, money buys love. And so as I followed trying to buy happiness, I bought more things, different things, until I finally got slapped in the face in 2006, 2 years before I lost over $100 million, by the way. 2 years before, I got slapped in the face by my wife, basically, who told me, you better take stock in who you are. You better take inventory of your values, because you're going to end up dead and without me, that's for sure. And I did. I took stock in who I was and what I wanted to become. And that,
what would you say your values were? Was there a singular moment for you where there was a big wake up?
Yeah.
Or was it gradual?
Well, there's three things that I reflect on just real quick because I know time. One, my dad, who was estranged since I was 5, he left my mom. Typical, dad that didn't pay child support, had a lot of money, married a girl closer to my age. He forgot my birthday at 10 and told me that he didn't forget my birthday. He didn't believe in birthdays. So my dad was a liar, cheater, manipulator. At 10, I was crushed because he was my hero. And I realized he was a liar, cheater, manipulator, overseller, back-end seller. At 30, my dad gave me a birthday present. 20 years later, a beautiful blazer that had no pockets. Once again, I was pissed. I called him, what's this about? He said, it's to remind you that you're just like me. I want you buried in that jacket. You can't take anything with you when you're gone. You think money buys everything. It doesn't. Don't make the same mistakes that I made. And I told him to F off, but I hung the jacket in my closet. 2 weeks before my wife slapped me in the face, my best friend, I was running Lee Steinberg Sports Entertainment, most notable sports agency. And they made the movie Jerry Maguire after, in case people wonder. They literally, my best friend, I said, how come you don't hang out with me, bro? I can go to the Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters with all these great people. Hang out with me. He said, I don't like who you hang out with. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not doing what those guys are doing. I just run the company, I'm not in that whole Hollywood scene. He goes, David, you can lie to me, but don't lie to yourself. 2 weeks after that's when my wife slapped me in the face and told me that she wasn't happy and I better take values in who I was. And those values, what I lost was number one, gratitude.
Yeah.
Everybody knows me for gratitude. It is the most powerful thing. Change your life by saying thank you before you go to bed and when you wake up. Make that your habit. But say thank you. I lost my I was completely broke, my entire childhood, but I was so grateful. 2, forgiveness. I could not forgive anyone. I had the need to be offended, resentful, separate, inferior, superior. I could not forgive anyone because I couldn't forgive myself for the hypocritical behavior and the wrong things that I was doing and the wrong way that I was living. And then 3, accountability. My mom, from the time I was a child, she wouldn't even let me come downstairs if I had the wrong attitude, if I wasn't grateful. She sent me right back up. But she told me 2 things. 1, ask yourself, what did I do to create this situation? What did I do to attract this situation? And 2, most importantly, what am I supposed to learn from it? And I've lived my life on this journey to learn light lessons in love, to learn to do the percentage of things that I don't even like or maybe even hate to do. I've set myself on a journey to learn to love those percentage of things. And you can look at people that sit in positions that I do, or celebrities, athletes, entertainers, and go, yeah, of course he's happy. No, BS. There's a percentage of every person I've met, from the Hall of Famers, and we've represented them all, to super entertainers, that have a percentage of things that they hate to do. The difference is the successful people have 2 things. 1, they must be what they can be. And because they must be what they can be, they take the time to take the percentage of things that they don't love to do, and they learn to love how to do them. They learn to love it. It's a practice. It's a habit. And so I went on that journey. So when I lost everything in 2008, I was actually prepared for it. I had these values. I took inventory of my personal values every day, my experiential values every day, my giving values every day, my receiving values every day. And then I had a mentor that taught me that you need to master 4 things. And this is the best piece of advice I can give during this time. There's a time of compressed uncertainty. Uncertainty is always there. The problem is the last 13 years since I went broke, we've only been into a growth pattern, a stable pattern, everything. And a lot of these people have grown up only knowing abundance. And so now, although there's always uncertainty in the future, this is the first real pragmatic proof that you're in a compressed time of uncertainty. The future is not certain. Surprise. And guess what? I've been there before. I've been there before because I was Midas. From the time I graduated law school, I just kept making money through 2001, 2008. I mean, I'm sorry, 93, 97, 2001. It didn't affect me.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, uncertainty wasn't there. So here's how we master uncertainty. You're in the middle of a miracle. The margins of millionaires are made during uncertain times. During the Depression, more people became millionaires than any other time. There's so many great companies that were formed in 2008. Go back and look. But they've learned to master 4 things. Number 1, you have complete control of your mindset. Learn to master your mindset. That's where these inventory of values take place.
And
2,
how specifically somebody's, maybe watching this from their living room or bedroom right now. They've got maybe some time on their hands, maybe not. I've got a wife and 2 kids and a dog. It's a little tricky. What's a practical daily practice that someone could do to master or to work towards a mindset of mastery?
To master your mindset, number 1 is to realize it's a practice, and 2, realize and identify what takes you out of your positivity. So a need to be right, a need to be offended, a need to be separate, inferior, anxious, frustrated, worried, guilty, all these different feelings, which is the second thing that we can master, are what determine our mindset. So we have to, number 1, realize this is just a practice. I can't just change my mindset in one day. If someone's suicidal right now and hopeless, you can't just say, how come you're not looking at the glass half full, buddy? That's ridiculous. And people literally try to do that, Aaron. It's crazy. What I tell them is, hey, come on to a journey of practice with me. Let's lower the bar. If you're not feeling good about yourself, if you're suicidal or hopeless or depressed, go do something for someone else, because you also can master what you do. I always say the easiest and best way to feel better about yourself is to help somebody else. It's a guaranteed. Happiness itself is the greatest virus of all time. It's spread by simply witnessing it, and it strengthens our immune system. And it's easy, it's free, and you spread it every day, but you have to practice spreading it and be cognizant of the fact that this is a practice. It might take me years, because it did take me to practice this mindset. I started out not being able to correct myself for years. Then it went to months. Then it went to weeks. Then it went to days. Then it went to hours. Then it went to minutes. And now I'm in the practice of correcting my mindset by moment. So if a negative thought, attacking words, I say cancel. I stop, drop, and roll. I know that when I'm in ego-based consciousness, all those worrying, that my mind, body, and soul are on fire. So the first step is stop, cancel it all, and then breathe. I call it for me, I'm a ferocious Buddha. I don't believe in complete Buddhism. I believe we live in this world. You got to be a ferocious Buddha. You got to have free will and activity and productivity in order to use and allow things to happen. I'm a ferocious Buddha, but I breathe through my nose, out through my mouth to get peace. And then I roll, stop, drop, and roll when you're on fire, roll towards the truth or the trajectory. I'm going to give a quick story because it's really pertinent and it will help everyone, because controlling your mindset's the key to being in the middle of a miracle. Real quickly, I wake up at 4 a.m., I meditate for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, get ready, and I work out. 4:30 on a Saturday, I walk outside, my 17-year-old daughter's car is missing. I immediately go to pick up my phone and I'm about to say, where the F are you? What the are you doing? And and then I say to myself, whoa, anger, ego-based emotion, mindset, you have control, you are your master. I stop, I breathe, I ask myself, why am I so angry? I say, wait a second, I'm not angry, I'm afraid something's happened to one of the most important people in my life and I'm responsible for her. Oh my gosh, my mindset completely changed. I pick up the phone, I call her, hey, are you okay? Yeah. Where are you? I'm in my bed. Where's your car? It's at the grocery store. Why? Well, because kids were drinking, and you told me, Dad, when kids were drinking to take an Uber home. Now, I told her if anyone ever has a sip of alcohol in her car or her, she needs to take an Uber home. I also am not dumb enough to think that kids drinking doesn't mean she wasn't drinking, and I'm fine. But then I said, I'm really proud of you. Thank you. And she goes, oh, I love you, Daddy, and hung up. Now, why is that so important? Because this is where we are in our closets today. If you take that mindset control, what would have happened if I went to the FU approach? My daughter would have been FU. I would have said, oh yeah, F me, I'm going to take your car. FU. And then the next time kids are drinking, she would have said to herself, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to lose my car. I'm going to drive home. And God knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
And that's what is happening today. Those people who decide to move and accelerate in the wrong trajectory are going to wonder why a year from now they're sitting in the position, because of the subtlety of the strength of controlling four things: your mindset, your feelings, what you say, and most importantly, what you hear. Don't inundate yourself with go seek the information, the stable data that you need personally and professionally. I get you need the data, but don't let it inundate you with the wrong people and the wrong ideas all day long. And then finally, that will affect what you do. And if what you do is aligned with the objectives that you have in a positive direction, you're going to accelerate and grow during this time. You're going to realize that you're in the middle of a miracle, in the margins of millionaires, that there's so many opportunities that exist for you today. We need to get things moving. Money hasn't disappeared. It's slowed down. Let's speed it up and not only get ourselves in its way, but bring others in its way as well.
So I want to bring that back to somebody who maybe is watching, who works at a business, maybe runs a business where maybe they're at a near standstill. And I think in those scenarios, it's very easy to be highly reactive and emotional and have those ego-based, anger feelings and a variety of other feelings. How do they take stock and take a second to get some focus? And then is there some practical exercise? Literally, should they write down a list of stuff? Should they address another market? Should they, when should they think about maybe it's time to throw in the towel, right? Like there's a lot of anxiety in the world right now. And how do they apply what you just said, which is obviously mature and wise and easy to reflect on in this, particular moment?
Let me give you pragmatic advice. So look within at the skills that you have today, the capabilities you have. Okay, take an inventory of that through your values, as well as the knowledge that you have. And then also, be cognizant of that one complete common denominator of inspiration, meaning that you must be what you can be, that you have a try me, not a why me attitude. Now, here's what we do pragmatically. This is what I do every day. I take inventory and say, here's what's important to me today. Personally, I want to make sure I have dinner with my kids. I get an hour of workout in. These are my personal values. Experientially, today, I want to inspire as many people. I also want to make a minimum of this much money. I want to do this, right? I'm a student in my calendar, what I plan, what I don't have planned in my sleep. And then from there, I go to my receiving values and also my giving values. Now, I take and look at my skills and knowledge and desire, and I say to myself, what are the 50 best performing stocks? And then I say, what capabilities do I or my business have that are supplementary or synergistic to these industries or companies that are doing well? And all of a sudden, all these opportunities and options come up in my head. Things I never thought of when I was looking at the wall. I was crashing into the wall. Now I'm looking at the road in front of me, and I'm cruising on the road in front of me. The next thing I do is I take inventory of the 50 most stable stocks. And I look at the skills, the knowledge, and the capabilities that I have that are supplementary and synergistic to those companies and industries. All of a sudden, even more opportunity and options that are available today are there. And they may not be exactly related to the business I was in, but this day and time, why it's a miracle that I'm in the middle of is because I think of it when I graduated college and my buddy knocked me on the shoulder and said, man, imagine if we could go back to college knowing what we know now. And in my head just lit up going, imagine what that would be like all the teachers, what to take, everything with all these cool things. That's the way that I look at it once I start studying the industries and companies that are doing well and that are stable. And then finally, for the future, I look at the 50 most crushed stocks. And I find what capabilities that I have that are synergistic and supplementary to those to find opportunity to start planning for things that are oversold. Because margins of millionaires are made by people who can identify what's oversold and buy them, okay? And it doesn't mean with your money. You can sell them, broker them, channel partner into them, and be a part of the overselling of them.
Yeah.
Right? And this is where margins are made. It's the simple. When I lost everything, this is the attack that I took. I said to myself, what's the fastest way to recover? And it was having the awareness of when to buy something that was oversold and having the expertise of mentorship of someone. I tell everyone right now, if you're not certain of this, go find somebody that's been in the industry 30 or 40 years that has lived through 93, 97, 2001, 2008, and now at least 5 generations of this stuff, and say to them, hey, can you do me one favor? I'm really interested in multi-unit commercial properties. can you tell me when they're oversold? And then when you buy them, or he ask him if he wants to go in with you, or ask, can you find investors, or all these different options and opportunities. Remember, the successful people in life are the biggest failures you'll ever meet. And I'm one of them. Let me explain that. Michael Jordan is one of the biggest failures. He actually missed more shots than anyone else. Warren Moon, my business partner, go look him up. He fumbled the ball more than any other player in the history of the game. He also has more yards and touchdowns, right? But think about it. I'm one of the biggest failures, but I'll tell you why. Because I have so many options and opportunities. Nobody sees all the options and opportunities that I've learned from, and had that one that worked. When I took $20 million at one time when I was young, and somebody asked me to invest it, and they said they had a for sure thing. And I said, you know what? I got 10 people telling me they have a for sure thing. So I said, instead, I'm going to divide it $2 million into the 10 investments. 9 of the for sure things, by the way, dumped.
Yeah.
One of them went way up, and I made millions of dollars. And guess what everyone said? Dave Meltzer is a genius. Oh, will you be my executive coach? Oh, let's put him on my board. Let's put him. Nobody ever asked about the other $18 million that I invested and lost. But I was the effing hero because of that. You can do the same thing by utilizing this pragmatic approach, but you can't do it if you're not taking inventories of your values, your skills, your knowledge, and maintaining your desire. I wake up every morning and remind myself at the highest frequency, the successful people in the world, the fulfilled people, not the filled with money, but the fulfilled people, the people that allow things to come through them for others, are the ones that must be what they can be. And what can I be today? And then I must be that.
So first of all, a quick programming note, jump in the chat, say hello, where you're from and what you're up to. If you have any questions, pop in the Q&A, and I'm keeping an eye on those. But, let's talk about this must be what I can be, right? Are you saying that people should lean in? Is this a lean in on your strengths? Is this a find happiness in the things that you don't love? Give me a little more detail there.
Great point. So, the one thing I have is perspective. So yes, I find a challenge to love everything that I do. So if I'm not liking or loving something I'm doing, I'm taking the time to figure out the like, the love, and the lesson in it so I can love it. And if I can't find it, I dump it. So I lean in there. I also lean in productivity, meaning into value. And the way that I do that is twofold. One, I study my calendar. I know the formula that what I pay attention to and put intention to equals the coincidences that I want in my life. And so in order to pragmatically effectuate that, I put my attention and intention into what I have planned to the day with a lens. Here's the lens everyone should use. Productivity is how much value you can provide, how much value and service you can provide. Accessibility is how accessible am I to others, and how am I accessing what I want. And you can't access what you want unless you know your what. So I spend a lot of time during my day figuring out my what, paying attention and intention into the what in order to effectuate those coincidences that I want. And then finally, a lens of gratitude. I'm always looking for the light, the love, and the lessons and everything, and grateful for that, appreciating it, adding value to it. But moreover, pragmatically, I have a formula where I study a minimum of 10 minutes in the morning, a minimum of 10 minutes at night, what I have planned. More importantly, what I don't have planned. I study the blank space, the white space in my calendar, like a freak. I'm sitting there staring at it. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm figuring out how productive and accessible and gracious I can be with all the time nobody else." Let me give everyone 2 weeks vacation right now to show you how this works. In that white space of the calendar, I'm looking for things. Okay, how can I be productive, accessible, and gracious? One of the practices that made me successful is I used to have a practice, find 4 minutes a day, because if you could save 4 minutes a day, you're saving 24 hours a year. And if I was only in my 20s, that was a lot of productivity, a lot of fun I could have, a lot of money I could make in those 4 things. One thing I learned by searching for time is that on average, most people waste 80 hours, 2 full weeks of productivity, 80 hours a year looking for shit. Okay, excuse my language, but imagine, and guess what they look for? Their phones, their wallets, and their keys. So if you are sitting there going, "I don't know what to do, my business is going down," let me give you 2 weeks vacation, and you already made back almost half of your quarantine time. Go figure out a place to put your keys, your wallet, and your phone, and remember to do it every time. Make a habit of it. Boom, 2 weeks vacation for everyone a year. Dave Meltzer, a gift right here. Thanks to the Jersey Tech, right? Honestly, these are the things that I figure out by studying. And then most importantly, sleep. I study sleep. Sleep is the place that not only my body rejuvenates, but I clear the clouds on the connection of the most powerful source of light, lessons, and love. My conscious and subconscious and unconscious work in fluidity to allow me to increase. What most people do, because they don't sleep well, they don't drink enough water, they don't sleep well, and they don't say thank you. You want simple things to do? Drink a gallon of water, sleep 8 hours, and literally say thank you. But if you don't, what you're doing is rolling a boulder like the myth of Sisyphus up to the top of the hill all day long. And then when you wake up in the morning, that boulder's at the bottom of the hill. I plateau and grow. I find my highest frequency. I have a great sleep, and I wake up at maybe even a higher frequency, using that as a baseline for my day to say, oh shit, I'm not on that baseline. Let me go back up there in the trajectory I want to be in. With these pragmatic things, the last thing I'm going to say, do it now, right? People move, active. How do we do that? Ask yourself, can I do this now? If so, do it, because you'll save twice as much time and you'll be exponentially more successful. I'll give you the rule of do it now. If you do something now, 100% of things that you do now get done. And guess what? The difference between people that are happy and unhappy, people that are happy get shit done. Get stuff done. Do it now. If you can't do it now, make a list, create a folder, put them anywhere, and then use that as student in your calendar to prioritize by what's most important according to your values and get those things done. There's so many people that'll tell you, if you just get 5 things done, you're exponentially so much farther ahead. This is a fresh start. This is going back to college again. You can either start ahead of everybody, catch up to others, or depreciate.
Yeah. So first of all, Howard, great to see you. Daniel, appreciate that you're getting value out of this. He asked, what were the rest of the 4 things to master? And I want to make sure I got this right, but I heard mindset, feelings, what you say, and what you hear. Did I get that right?
No, mindset, what you feel you can control, what you say and hear is one together, and then what you do is the last one. You control what you do, so you control your actions. And if you master those 4 things by taking inventory in your values, because remember, those things are indicative of your own values, and don't be afraid to be a hypocrite. The one thing that's so frustrating about technology and expansion, acceleration, and getting old is that people don't allow you to evolve. They don't allow you to be a hypocrite, meaning they're going to judge you for your values when you were 22, right? And the values of society when you were 22. No, stop judgments and conditions of yourself. Be a hypocrite. Say to yourself, you know what? I learned something yesterday, so my values changed today. And I'm going to tell people, you know what? I used to think that. But now I think this, and I'm going to make sure that my actions, my activities I get paid for, activities I don't get paid for, are aligned with what I believe today, my values to be. And they don't have to be balanced, by the way, right? We're learning that.
Yeah. I mean, somebody dropped off because they were disappointed about some of the language here, which I have no issue with, but it did remind me about a point of, Gary V, who I know we have a friend in common there, obviously there's no issue with vulgarity. You talked about the parenting issue, and I'm curious, how this mindset, how do you speak to your kids, how you speak to your clients, and how you have an active approach here and being real. Gary always often talks about people really breaking off from their parents and their support, financial support, so they can build their own life. And I think it ties into this issue of how real you are with people and how honest you are with people and how hard not you personally, but how hard one is on their close relationships. And I'm wondering how this mentality for you affects those kinds of relationships.
Yeah. So number one, I have no need to be offended. Right. And so I take that for what it is. What I've learned actually from Gary, who we co-mentor each other, is I have a frequency. And every once in a while, I use the S word. I don't use the F word. Right. I make an acronym for it. But with my kids, I empower my kids to make decisions by knowing their values and through me. My kids are not for me. They're through me. And what I've learned is if you know your frequency, so, the person who dropped off, that's cool, right? If this isn't your gig, if the strength of my signal, the spectrum of my signal, and the clarity of my message is not for you, and you have a need to be offended, then, hey, I understand and I pray for your happiness. And I think that's a key thing. So for my kids, I literally allow them, and my goal is to empower them to make the decision. So drug use, alcohol, sex, all these conversations that I have with them, I let them know what I think, and I expect them to take my opinion, my advice, like a handful of sand, the same way I've learned to take my mom's advice at 52. I want them to appreciate that I care enough to give them my advice. I want them to realize where my expertises lie and where my perspective lies. And I want them to allow my advice to fall through their hands like a handful of sand. And I want them to hold on to the kernels that they believe in, that are aligned with their values today. Because I'll tell you one thing about parenting, about doing these kind of things, is that I may be planting seeds on trees that I'll never sit under, for my children especially, right? And I can't, my kids are getting a little older, they're in college, and I love when they come home and they're like, Dad, Professor so-and-so taught me this. I'm so excited, this is amazing. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, I've been teaching that for 21 years, right? But I planted the seed. It was their time. It's like that book on yourself that's been there for 20 years, and all of a sudden it calls out to you and you're like, oh my God, I should read this. And it changes your life. Yeah. That's what we're doing. And so we have an ability to plant these seeds and to allow people that share your frequency, that it resonates with. There's 4.2 billion people out there, Aaron, and I was so worried about all of them. When I first started, I wanted to attract all of them. I wanted them all to love me and like me. And then Gary told me, Dave, what if 3.9 billion of those people not just didn't know you, but hated you? And what if the other 0.3 billion loved you? What do you think? And he said, I'm like, well, I don't know. He goes, that means you're the most popular person in the world.
Yeah.
If you have 3.3 billion people who love you, right? 300 million people love you.
Yeah.
Who cares about the 3.9? At least you're challenging them to re-engineer their vision of what they're doing and what they're thinking and what they're saying for what's good for them. And I'm accepting of that.
And I think what you're really getting at as well is this authenticity, right? You understand, you're talking about this spectrum of who you are, right? And it's going to be good for some and not work for everyone, but that's okay. You don't have to please them all, except maybe your mom.
Yeah, exactly. But I think appreciate everyone. People will tell me one last piece of advice, especially living at home, is what do I do when I'm around all this negativity? Right? What do I do?
Yeah.
Look, when you're around people that are negative, whether it's work or home or wherever, I always say there's two things to do. One is go to understanding, right? Don't escalate it with attacking thoughts. That doesn't work. What you resist persists. Try to understand it. Ask and say, oh, why do you feel that way? Because a lot of times we create separation, interference, voids, obstacles, and resistance because we preconceive what people really mean by what they're saying.
Yeah.
And their negativity. Yeah. So if we go to understanding, and then if you don't agree with them and they're still negative within your understanding, my feeling is just pray for their happiness. Because if they were happy, they wouldn't have those attacking thoughts or negativity. They wouldn't be able to project those things onto other people. And so the best and most constructive thing you can do is pray for their happiness instead of dive into the negativity and create and give it more energy.
This is a touch off topic and we're gonna wrap up in just a couple of minutes, but I'm curious, especially now, I want to be informed as I watch the news and I consume a variety of news to see what's going on, but it can be very negative. The political issues is an added factor here. And I'm wondering how you balance a thing like that. How do you not let it become too negative, but try to stay educated?
I seek it. So I don't allow it to come to me. So I seek the data that I want. So if the number of deaths in California is a crucial statistic that I want to look at every day, then I set a time at the end of the day to seek that information and take it factually as it is. And I might seek multiple sources, which I also think is very important, to share a perspective of why is it different? Why is this statistic different?
Yeah.
And I think people, if they keep one news station on all day long, are making a huge mistake.
So
not only because it's negative.
Control, right?
Yeah, you're not mastering what you're hearing. There's so many things. People are like, how are you so positive during the time? Because I'm surrounded with really positive news. The majority of the news that I seek and get all day long is very encouraging.
Yeah.
And that becomes my reality.
Yeah, that's a good way to own it. This is a community of people who I think, beyond wanting to learn here, are also often eager to help. And I wonder what we all could do that could help you or some of the mission that you're on.
The easiest thing to me, I have a huge training on Fridays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. It's free. And it's a community as well, like this. And it's thousands of people. And so the first step of anyone helping me is to join that community. Come listen this week's, the habit machine. I'm teaching people not about a certain habit, but why not have a habit machine where you're like, hey, I want a habit of losing this much weight or eating right or exercising or making more money or, whatever it may be. I'm going to teach the machinery in order to effectuate it. And so my goal in life, and I'm going to end with this, Aaron, as you know this, I've had and been blessed. I have a mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. I have a formula to do so. You're one of my, what I call 1,000. There's 1,000 people out there that I want to teach to empower 1,000 people, to empower 1,000 people. 1,000 times 1,000 is 1 million, 1 million times 1,000 is 1 billion. I know that Aaron Price is someone who can empower 2 generations down, because if we can create a collective consciousness using these systematic tools of values, gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration, and effectuate it together, the whole world will change. Abundance will be created, and happiness is a disease. It is a virus. And I want to share that with over 1 billion people, so that will continue to grow. 1 particle of light overcomes 1 million particles of darkness. And you're one of those particle of lights that I'm not only counting on, but appreciate in helping me do that. So thank you.
Well, the feeling is definitely mutual. I think you might give me a little too much credit there, but it's humbling to think that I might be a part of the cog in that wheel. So I really appreciate you spending all this time with us today, in the past. As you definitely in that goal of accomplishing a billion touch points of happiness. I can tell you, every time that we interact virtually or in person, it's always left me happy. So I really appreciate that. For those who want to learn more, Jake dropped the link for David's training that is today at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern into the chat. We'll follow up with it as well. We'll post it on social. David, it's always a great honor to be with you, and I love your alliterations. You got, I can't remember all that stuff. You have great sayings. I got to work on that.
Recorded it. Go back.
I will. But I really appreciate it. Stay safe, be well, and we will talk to you soon.
You got it, my friends. Take care. Be safe, happy, and healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.